Good evening. For those who don't know, I'm Chuck Rogie. I'm the clerk, and President Runyon will not. Sorry, I'm just back from vacation. I'm having a hard time getting things going, but she will not be here this evening, so I will be the interim president. So at this point, we have flag salute. Do we have anybody saying the flag salute for us tonight? And the background? Smith.
From Smith School, we have Nolan Dennis, Owen Summers, and Sonia Fletcher.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Since we're reconvening from open session, we have nothing to report out. Meeting procedures. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. Primary focus is the education of students in the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. During this meeting, members of the public will have the opportunity to share information and voice their ideas and concerns regarding matters within the jurisdiction of this public agency. During the board's discussion of each agenda item, there will be time for you to have the opportunity to speak to that item. If the topic you want to address is not on the agenda, although not mandatory, we encourage you to please fill out and return a TAN speaker card. You will then be called to speak on that topic during the communications from the public. If you wish to address a topic that is on the agenda, we encourage you to please fill out and turn in a blue speaker card. Again, it's not mandatory to do so. I will call your names in no particular order to speak to the board for no more than 3 minutes unless otherwise noted. Our meetings are televised on Cable Channel 28. Is that still true? Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and Saturdays at 9 a.m. for your viewing enjoyment. Superintendent Bowers, do we have any changes to the agenda?
Thank you, President Rogie. Acting President Rogie. We actually have one change to the agenda. We would like to table the minutes approval that's normally under consent item 11A. Because you, Trustee Rogie, were not present at the last meeting, and Trustee Runyon is not here this evening, that leaves us with only 2 voting board members who were present to approve the minutes. That's not quite a quorum. So we will plan to bring that item to the next board meeting along with the minutes from this meeting for your approval.
Thank you. So now we have some recognitions.
So this is the most enjoyable part of any meeting, which is our opportunity to recognize outstanding staff and community members and students. We would like to start with a special recognition at Smith Elementary School, and I'll ask Principal Tammy Rankin to join us at the podium, and she will do the honors of the formal introduction.
Good evening, Superintendent Bowers and board members. I am here tonight with 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teachers from M.S.C. Smith Elementary School. I would like to recognize them for their hard work leading up to and during the Smarter Balance testing. Our teachers worked hard to ensure that students were ready for their assessment. Students were familiar with and comfortable with the Chromebook, and they were also ready for the Common Core test. Moreover, teachers were positive with a can-do attitude through the entire process. And I want to thank our teachers for all their hard work. I can have them come up. Let's see. Ananiah, Janet Gulbranson, Adam Morrison, Mindy Thralls, Aaron Summers, Megan Fletcher,
the others couldn't make it tonight.
Thank you.
And for our next introduction, we have some folks who often go unrecognized in the public because they're so busy doing things on behalf of all of our students and all of our schools. And so this is kind of a trio presentation because we have Mrs. Amy Robbins, who will be doing part of the presentation. She's our Director of Curriculum and Special Projects. Also, Mr. Chris Van Schack will chime in, and he's our Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services, and Mrs. Cindy Alba, who's our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services. They will each want to give their portion of the recognition for the people who support them in every way. And I actually also would like to extend my thanks. I've worked closely with the people who we recognize in many capacities, and working closely with me is not always a joy, because with that comes a lot of expectation and demands and things that sometimes we don't expect. And the people that will be recognized tonight roll with that, and they make things happen, and they do so with professionalism, pride, and an incredible commitment that is unmatched. And so I would also like to extend my thanks, and particularly so tonight is a perfect example. They did not get a timely notification of the recognition, and they made that work as well. And so once again, even with the recognition, we had to kind of put more on them, but they are here still to accept our thanks and honor. So we appreciate that. Can't do it without them. Mrs. Robbins?
I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Van Schack first. We'll let the gentleman start for one.
Thank you, thank you. I'd like to ask Cherie and Kathy and Lori to step forward, please. So actually, we're going to do something a little different tonight, a different type of recognition. A surprise even for the three ladies. I don't know if you guys have heard about the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. Yeah, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I am just kidding. You guys can step forward, truly. It's my honor and privilege to recognize Kathy McConnell. Tonight specifically, we're recognizing Kathy for the outstanding work she did this summer in preparing for negotiations, 3 different negotiation sessions or teams going on at the same time, and so keeping those together and focused was a challenge. But more so, I think, recognizing her for the body of work that she's done for many years in this district. She provides a great deal of experience. She is the go-to person when we have a parent who might be frustrated with what's going on at the school or in need of answers, and so Kathy has become the diffuser of many an angry parent, and we appreciate that. She provides great information, a great perspective, having had students go through this district herself. And once again, recognizing Kathy specifically for what she's done recently, but more importantly, what she's done over the years. She's just an outstanding employee, and she's really what we're all about as a district. She's conscientious and hardworking, and always has the interest in students at the forefront. So thank you, Kathy.
And then I have the privilege of talking a little bit about Lori and Cherie. And these two are being recognized for their invaluable work behind the scenes and taking care of all the details, specifically around our summer Leadership Institute and Leadership Workshop. Really, all 3 of these make an incredible team, because even while Cherie and Lori are doing their part, like around the Leadership Workshop, and that can be very time-consuming, Kathy's always there to help and pick up pieces and do whatever needs to be done. But this is also timely to have these 2 ladies here tonight, Lori and Cherie, around the Leadership Institute and Leadership Workshop, because we're going to do the professional development report tonight, and we'll hear more about that. So we all work very closely together, and it's very important to work as a team. our Leadership Institute is a 2-day event with about 180 teacher leaders and leaders within the district, our board members, our site administrators, and Amy Robbins, our Director of Curriculum and Special Projects. Her department takes the lead on that, which puts Lori in the position to take the lead on the logistics and those pieces behind that. And then the leadership workshop, which is for our site administrator and all of our managers. Cherie takes sort of the lead on doing the background and pieces on that. But what this does is it allows Amy and I to be able to work on content, be able to work on knowing that if we can get really strong content and presentations and look at what the needs are, we know that these ladies will have all the details taken care of. And not just a checklist, it is to the highest level of professionalism, making sure everything is top-notch looking, making all of us very proud to be able to showcase our events and so that people who come feel like they're at a professional development, that they're comfortable, but they also do things in a very economic way, always trying to find, because of tight economic times, making sure that we're always doing things in a way that is not extravagant but makes people feel very comfortable. Things behind the scenes can be anything, right from the beginning of getting invitations out, securing a location, working with the vendors, working with the people at the site, making sure the AV equipment's working, and then making sure that we and all of our presenters have everything that we need in order to move forward. And sometimes it's calming us down at times when that needs to happen. The other thing I would say, too, is just that when we're working on these kind of events together, it's nice that they have each other, all three of them, to proofread documents and to just work together to come up with the best ideas to be able to move things forward. So, again, we want to thank all three of the ladies, specifically on the summer leadership pieces of the two, for taking care of all the details, making sure that things run smoothly, comfortably, and so that our staff can learn at the maximum potential. And I will dovetail also on something Mr. Van Schack said. All three of these ladies, anybody can call them from the public within the district or outside the district, no matter who, can call any one of them about anything in the district. And they will always happily find the information for them, direct them in a way to make sure anything is taken care of. So that is greatly appreciated. So, Mrs. Robbins, did you want to add anything?
I just want to echo everything that you and Mr. Van Schack said, and also prove, as our superintendent said, that while it was very late notice, they bent over backwards to make sure that they rearranged their schedules to be here tonight, and we're very glad that they did so. And it's proof in the pudding that we are lost without them, and usually we rely on them to contact others to do schedules. So, ladies, we are right in our left hand. So, again, we all three appreciate all three of you. And I know that many others within the district do as well. So thank you, and you definitely are deserving to be recognized for all your dedication and hard work.
We'd like to have. We'll let everybody disperse. And now we have our student and board member reports. And Marina, you'll go first, and you'll go last.
Good evening, Acting President Rogie and Board of Trustees. I am Marina Fontaine, Livermore High School's Associated Student Body Vice President and Attorney General. During the summer, several of our students went on the Pura Vida trip to Costa Rica and Panama. We also had many students compete at the Alameda County Fair, including over 250 artistic submissions. Our FFA club members did very well at the fair as well. Many of our students graduated from the Justice Academy through the District Attorney's Office. Former and current students were a part of the Shrek production held at the Bankhead Theater and Ohlone College. Our Close-Up Club traveled to Washington, D.C. They had fun and learned a lot. In sports news, our volleyball team beat American High School last Thursday. Our football team beat Newark Memorial High School on Friday with a score of 30-6. The cheer and dance teams had their first performances, and they did very well and had a lot of fun. Our cheer squad has a total of 58 members, including our first ever male cheerleaders. Our Shooting Stars team is starting practices this week. They're all very excited for that. In other news, we are holding freshman elections for class officers on Thursday. We have a record amount of freshmen running this year, a total of 21 candidates. Our seniors will be heading to the Little Hills at Las Trampas in San Ramon on Friday for their senior picnic. We sold a total of 253 tickets, and all of the seniors are very excited. The senior class is holding a fundraiser at the Oakland A's game on Wednesday, September 17th. We are all excited to bring our green and gold to the Coliseum. Thank you.
Thank you. And any employees associations? Thunder. Good evening.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Bowers. My name is Jenny Unger, and I am the president of the Livermore Education Association, and once and always a first grade teacher. The first thing I'd like to share with you is that we did have a member vote to ratify our new contract for 2014 to 2017, and our members overwhelmingly ratified the contract, voted yes. So I'd like to thank the school board for supporting the work that both the district team and the LEA team worked on throughout the spring and ending this summer. We have decided that for our community outreach this year, we are going to try and work more closely with the Livermore Valley Education Foundation and be at some of their events. And we will be sponsoring a booth at the 6th Annual Walk for Education, which is the last Saturday of September 27th, I believe. And we'll have a booth there. And just a shout out to the community, if any of the high school leadership students who need some community service hours would like to come and help us with that endeavor, we will be doing some face painting, and we thought that would be something fun to support. One of the things that our group would like to look at this year is improving communication, getting information to and from members. We're looking at perhaps starting some social media so that we can keep our members informed of some of the things that we are up to as a community, as well as some of the things that we support through CTA and through NEA. And I'm glad you're having a professional development report tonight. We've also asked for input from our members from each site to let us know how that experience was for them on the 21st, and to let us know what kind of activities were held on those days. Thank you.
Thank you. Now comes time for our communications from the public, and I have Samantha Jensen. Samantha Jensen.
We had someone who originally turned in a card and then changed their mind, I believe.
Going once, twice. And now we also have any correspondence. Do we have any correspondence?
There's no correspondence today.
Moving right along. Now we're into our information discussion items. Our first item is professional development report. Superintendent Bowers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will invite Mrs. Cindy Alba, our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, to introduce this item. As we've mentioned earlier, this is our professional development annual report, and it's regarding the last year and I think a little bit of summer of the professional development up until today.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Bowers, Acting President, Mr. Rogie, and trustees. So this is the professional development report that I will go over highlights of the professional development that occurred during the last school year and up and through this summer. When I say highlights, even in the written report, there's we can't really cover every conference, every experience that all of our staff has, but these are the major ones that really fit with our themes and what we're moving forward in our district. So as we know, our Board of Education adopted a core value that supports professional development and really promoting a commitment to lifelong learning for all of our employees so that we will have a quality of practice and pride in profession through effective and creative professional development. And so we definitely revisit that regularly to make sure that we are giving people the opportunity to increase their overall skills and knowledge and to keep current on practices so that they can be the best whatever their assignment is, whatever their job is within the district. Our professional development that we do is wide-ranging. It is for everybody from leadership, teachers, our classified staff, our custodial staff, and again, helping everybody to be perform at their highest levels, and always for the reason of providing the best possible learning experience so our students can perform at their highest levels. We know that a couple things haven't changed over the years, and we've been trying to, over the last few years, make sure that we provide clear messages around preparing our students for the 21st century and for 21st century learning, and looking at the 4 C's: creativity, collaborations, critical thinking, and communication, and the 5th one that we've added in our district, citizenship. So this slide is kind of a picture of overall what is a frame for all of our professional development. We continue to work as professional learning communities, and that is also another frame. We continue to work around using data to inform all of our decision making, and another practice within the district are instructional rounds, which is a way of providing professional development at the sites. We are continuing with that practice also. So some highlights of professional development. I'll start with leadership. Probably 3 of our main things that we do, as we mentioned earlier in the recognition, our Leadership Institute. We do leadership workshops 3 times during the year. We do a full-day workshop in the summer before school starts, and then 2 half-day workshops during the school year. And throughout the year, we have administrative trainings that happened that can be on many different topics. Mr. Van Schack holds a monthly meeting that is a professional development meeting that gives us a venue for keeping people updated on different kinds of laws, best practices, a whole range of different topics that come up, and it's nice to have sort of that set meeting time to do that. So I'll talk a little bit about our Leadership Institute. This is a picture from our Leadership Institute. Again, that's a 2-day event. I think this is our 4th year, I believe, that we had it. We had our institute, and this is every site brings a leadership team. And so around what this is about is building leadership and building leadership capacity at our school sites, but also helping our teachers and our administrator, giving them the tools to be able to go back to their sites, deliver professional development, and help move forward our initiatives and move forward with the implementation of the Common Core. Our goal within that Leadership Institute is not only just to provide information, but to provide experiences so that our teachers and our leaders experience what it's like to be a student learning something new. And in this particular one, this picture, a group of teachers, they're working on building a structure out of spaghetti, marshmallows, tape. Was there string involved? I think there was a little bit of string. And so they had to work together. They had to communicate. These were all the sessions were built around the 4 C's, but all of them were critical in this one: critical thinking, creativity, collaborating, working together, and communicating. And this year also one of the differences that we did is we had people work in teams that weren't necessarily their site teams. So they worked with all different people. But this was to give them part of a session on that had to do with creativity, working together. This is another one from that same session. Again, a group of teachers working together. What we saw as we walked around watching people work together is how much they appreciated each other's input, and they had the opportunity to collaborate together. A theme this year also was design thinking and the process of design thinking, which has to do with, brainstorming, coming up with ideas, creating prototypes, getting feedback, retooling. And so with the work that they were doing in this one, they are working on that structure that they're putting together. They also appreciated working in teams that included elementary, middle, and high school. I included this photo because this one we actually all got a kick out of. This young man who's here working with this group worked at the hotel, worked at the event, and he was, I believe, helping with the audio-visual. He was support for us, and he was watching this and asked if he could join the group. So they said, sure. We believe in collaboration and inclusion, and so he was problem solving with them. Again, another activity. When I was looking at these pictures today right before the event, I thought, it looks like all they did was play all day. But I know many of you were also there. But it's a mixture of getting the information and then again, those experiences of having people get a little bit out of their comfort zone, because moving forward with the Common Core is really about changing our mindset. Our keynote speaker talked about having a growth mindset. We also talked about having being able to feel safe and comfortable, and helping our teachers feel safe and comfortable, trying new strategies, new ways to deliver information, new ways to communicate, collaborate, because that is what is required for the Common Core. And you can see here they are having a good time. They had to come up with some musical instruments, come up with a song, and they included other people. In this activity, the leadership teams were working on putting together their plans for the Professional Development Day. So what they learned at the Institute, they needed to look at that information, put it together in a way that was meaningful to bring it back to the rest of their site. And what this particular picture is showing is that the group sitting at the table is actually the Sunset teachers, and they are sharing what their plan is for the Professional Development Day, and they're sharing that with another team, which was a special ed team, and they're giving feedback. So they're practicing giving constructive feedback, and then practicing taking that feedback and looking at, does that fit for us? This picture is from our leadership workshop. So after the Leadership Institute, which is a 2-day event, we had one day of people have the opportunity to work back at the site, and then we spent a day together just as our leadership group. So that's our site administrators and our cabinet level folks and all of our managers at the site level. And our focus on this particular day, again, was sticking with this theme around a growth mindset and approaching things in a can-do kind of attitude. We continue to work on the themes of the design thinking, and also, again, moving out of our comfort zones a little bit so that we can support our teachers. We also did an activity around different leadership styles, because we wanted to look at what is our role and how we can help support a learning environment, a work environment at our sites that would help support our teachers as they endeavor in the, I don't even want to call it the new Common Core anymore, but just as we move forward with the Common Core. We also were introduced to some new technology that our teachers are going to be using, and so that was important for them to get that information. You can see people are very attentive during presentations, and then they had time to work in their table groups. But of course, then right before lunch, we did have to take some time for some team building and to work on our communication, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, and everybody was included. So this was a relay game that we were playing in order to like I said, do a little team building, get some exercise.
Everyone was including, but my team won.
Okay, we're collaborative
And
and we are a little bit
competitive.
competitive. So it was a good time. And then this is another activity, rock, paper, scissors that we did in a really fun kind of way. Our new administrators, anybody who's new to the district in a leadership position, they have to plan these activities, the team building activities, and they really did an outstanding job. So overall, we had 3 really great days of working together and really setting the stage for the start of the school year. So then talk a little bit about teacher training. All of our teacher training still focuses on Common Core standards, 21st century learning, and you can see up on the screen different kinds of professional development. We have our site professional development days. Our teachers also have a flex professional development day where they can work on something that is critical to them growing in their position. And most of the teachers did something around Common Core as it related to their content area. We have our science teachers did some work around the next generation science standards so that we can start moving forward with understanding those and understanding how to integrate those. And instructional technology was very important during this past year with the new testing and with all the Chromebooks in the schools. And we'll see some pictures of that in a minute. But that has just been very exciting to watch teachers using the technology in the classroom, students using the technology, and we had our technology leads, which was part of our Common Core plan, one at every site who can help move that forward. And of course we have Robbie, our technology integration specialist, TSA at the district level, who helps us. We did our SEDI training for our English learning. We had a focus on writing because we continue to work as a focus area on evidence-based writing, evidence-based conversations, and building vocabulary. So K-12 writing we'll continue to see even into this year is critical, and our math instructional practices. And of course our instructional leadership teams who kicked off their year at that Leadership Institute. So this is a picture from a professional development day at the beginning of the school year at Granada High School. And they took the work that we did at the Leadership Institute and looked at design theory. So they created a web that they then they worked in teams, so they collaborated together, built some kind of web that then the other team members had to work their way through without touching any of the strings. The person was blindfolded. You can see the gentleman on the floor blindfolded. And then they had to give clear directions to that person, whether they needed to step over, step under. And again, that ended with them debriefing about what it's like for students to try to learn in a new way, but also how they can help their students to collaborate on that level, to be able to communicate and to think critically. So it was an interesting and fun day. This is our science teachers working on the next generation science standards. This was also before school started this year, and Ravi, our technology integration specialist, who also has a science background, was sharing some information with them. We continue with our math professional development. If you'll remember, working with our Bill and Drew with our multiple methods, and we started at the middle school level. Then 2 years ago, we worked with 4th and 5th grade level. This past year, it was 2nd and 3rd grade. So as we went around to classrooms, we were able to see the examples of teachers and students using the multiple methods in the classroom, explaining their thinking and learning how to work together in groups. In this particular picture, we can see where they're actually integrating the technology along with the math and explaining the math, which is also part of our Common Core training. This next year, moving into 14-15, we'll continue that training at the K-1 level. Here we can see students working on the Chromebooks. This is a result of the professional development, and also just teachers, stepping out and saying, I'm going to work on this with my students, try it, see how the students do. And the students obviously responded very well. As I mentioned earlier, we have our technology leads at the school site. These are transitional kindergarten students with their iPads, and our transitional kindergarten teachers every other week get together with one of our TSAs from the curriculum department, and they work on instructional strategies, curriculum. It's their opportunity because we only have, I think, 6 of them in the district, teachers at the TK level. So they work together, and so this was them working together. Well, this isn't the teachers, but this is a result of what the students are able to do out of that professional development. And again, we can see some of the technology integration that's happening. This was part of reading workshop, and this was part of the training that teachers are going through with Carla Hansen during the school year. Besides this, they were also working on what's called writing workshop from Lucy Calkins, and we will continue that going into the new school year. Our teachers on special assignment, they also, just like our departments and our grade levels at the school site, have time to collaborate and to be able to look at their work and move it forward. Our teachers on special assignment, this is them working together, and what they do in their meetings is planning the professional development and planning how they can support the school sites. This past year, they worked very diligently on how they could support the instructional leadership teams at the school sites. Those leadership teams were meeting once a month at different places around the district so that they could continue to build curriculum maps. And this is a picture of one of those grade level instructional leadership team grade level meetings where they're working on sharing ideas and resources, breaking down the standards, and looking at what are the best practices for teaching and putting those together in a document that that was at the Leadership Institute that we introduced, which is our Common Core curriculum map. This is just a cover page from one of those. But this is what we want, this is what we strive to be able to see in our professional development, that things come together in a way that we have a product that we can then share out at the with everybody. We also there's more trainings, as I said, in this report can't really touch on everything, but give you highlights. So you can see we do training. We had our CPR training, our training on using our new AEDs at all levels. We work on safety practices, but specifically Mike Nagel and his group, he does several trainings with them. They do their big annual training, but then they also have several other trainings specific to people's their particular jobs, and those are also the best practices sometimes that they're developing for whatever their particular position is. That goes the same for our business department, our human resources, many different trainings that they provide within their own departments and also provide to our other staff. Special education has ongoing training throughout the school year for their folks, but also to make sure that our administrators are kept current on laws and practices, and that all teachers and all of our classified staff can help support. So picture of CPR training, which we do several times throughout the year. I believe this one was from earlier during the summer. And again, our CPR training. So all this training, we want to make sure that our people are getting what they need, and we continue to hear from staff great comments about how they've enjoyed the training, how they learned from the training. It helps give us feedback on where we need to go, and then sometimes we hear about where we want to have additional training. And so some of that information, as we work with our Teachers Association, we hear from them around what's worked, what hasn't, and where they want more training. I know at the teacher level we definitely want more around Common Core and the technology, but we also get information from our the survey we do every year, Workplace Dynamic Survey. We have the opportunity, so you can see people have great things to say about the different trainings, which let us know that they're using it within their site. So again, it takes a whole lot of folks to help provide for our students, the best kind of learning environment, give them the greatest opportunities to be operating at their highest level, to be successful, to prepare them for the 21st century, for their jobs in the future, and just to be good citizens. So it takes all of us together working, and we want to make sure that we in our positions can help support and provide the support that they need. So moving forward, some of our focus areas, I mentioned that we're going to continue with writing, and so it'll be writing in the disciplines and creating rubrics for writing that are aligned to the Common Core state standards. All of our, at our elementary level, we're a big, strong push in the area of writing, and this year we will have writing leads at every school who will be getting some training and then bringing that back to their school site. We have found at the elementary level the model of having a teacher leader at each grade level trained, going back to the site at their grade level meeting and sharing the information, and having at the site, having them have the opportunity to be able to practice some new practices and bring that information then back to through these teacher leaders has been a good way for us to change practice and enhance practice at the site level. We've done it with math, and so now we're going to do that with writing, using some new writing materials, supplemental materials that we have. We'll continue with our math training, and as I mentioned, that we're moving down to the K1 level, where they will be receiving the training that other folks have already received from the middle school down to grade 2. Grade 2 and 3 will continue to meet because they were just trained last year. They'll continue to meet regularly with Robin Schlichter, our math coach, to make sure that their skills are solidified. We continue to work with Bill and Drew, and just throw this in, and we just talked to them today, and they will be providing some parent training for us also. We continue to have our Tri-Valley Teacher Induction Program for all of our new teachers. Technology, critical, and we will continue with that. Special ed, safety practices, and this year we have all of our principals, members of cabinet, going through what's called breakthrough coach training, which is training on working efficiently and effectively with our assistants or our secretaries. So those are just some of the highlights as we move forward. I know this one's kind of hard to see, but we'll be sharing this. This is actually a flyer that kind of outlines the technology training that is coming forward, and that's one of the one thing that Amy and I are working on doing is coming out with sort of what is, so that people can see what are all the trainings that are open to them. Some training we provide that is sort of mandatory, like what happens on a staff development day. But most of our training is opened up to people. We are going to do SADAI training, inviting people, and so we want to be able to more and more advertise and give people a big picture of what's going on in the district. So this is an overview of our technology training. In all of our trainings, the funding sources vary now that we have our local control funding formula. So some of it is through that funding source. This is our Common Core funding. In our Common Core funding plan, we allotted about $500,000 toward professional development, and that it will all be spent by the end of the school year. We use our federal categorical funds, Title I, Title II, Title III, as each of those funding sources allow us to use them, and then we also have our Tri-Valley Teacher Induction Program for our new teachers. And that concludes the report, and I will take any questions.
First, do we have any questions from the public? All right. Questions from the board?
I have a few. and I'm very interested in how you think we're doing in terms of preparing for the math instruction in Common Core.
I will tell you that we have been very pleased and I say we, I'm probably speaking about Amy and I and even the Pivot folks when we walk through classrooms at the elementary level and at the middle school level. And I will say I have not been as much at the high school level because we've been following up on specifically on the professional development at those levels. We have seen such a change in practice. And again, not that we've had excellent practices before, but integrating those multiple methods, giving students the opportunity to explain their thinking, to ask questions such as, what would happen? The kids are coming up with the questions. What would happen if we did it this way? And so, if I would say if any of you would like to walk through classrooms with us, it would be wonderful. I think we're on our way.
And do you think that the preparation for the teachers has been sufficient for them to be comfortable with the classrooms and the questions they're going to get from parents as well as students?
Yeah. I think we're continuing to work with our teachers. I think they're getting very comfortable, and I don't think anybody in their position ever feels like they're 100% there. I think that our parents want more information, and so we are at Back to School Night. We're sending home information with them, but we'll continue to provide support for them. So I think we're on our way.
Good, thank you.
I was interested in the more trainings section. I was looking at this and was wondering if it would be appropriate, and I don't know, this is just a thought, but having some cross-training in the legal aspect of our job. The teaching, special education, things that the nuances of the legalities that you need to know or should know to help you with your job, and that would go along with some of the policies that we have and why we have certain policies. I'm not advocating we go through the whole policy, but those key things that you're liable for something in your classroom, or what the education code says you should be doing. I mean, it's such a huge elephant that I think a lot of people ignore it because it's so large, but maybe we should train in that aspect also. I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah, so I appreciate the suggestion. We do at Chris's principal meetings once a month. That's when we usually bring people up to date, our administrators up to date on policies and so forth. And we do specific trainings where we bring in lawyers, again, mainly to meet with our special ed staff or our administration staff on some of those nuances with special education.
Great.
And we can also look at ensuring that is getting down to the general education level also. And also, I think there's other ways that we can be communicating some of that, even through our internal web-based, intranet or through our Google Doc. But thank you for the suggestion.
The reason I thought of it is some of us get the emails from Lozano that keep us updated with policies in the state and court cases and things like that. So I find it interesting. Any other questions? All right, let's move on. Now we're into the K-12 summer program.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will ask Mrs. Amy Robbins, our Director of Curriculum and Special Projects, to join us once again at the podium. She is going to report on highlights from the K-12 summer school program 2014.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Bowers. As Assistant Superintendent Cindy Alba explained, staff was very busy over the summer, and staff was also busy teaching students as well as students learning. So over the summer, we continue to offer several extended learning opportunities for our students, and we serve students as early as pre-K all the way through 12th grade. So looking at our summer school programs, we have offered our preschool, our kindergarten readiness opportunities. Partnering with First 5, we've been able to offer early learners the jump start needed to help prepare them and get them into the routine, as well as to focus on some of the basic concepts and skills needed for kindergarten preparation. For K-8, we have intervention, which includes reteaching and skills reinforcement, to really look at how we can use a summer opportunity to extend learning to make sure that students have a longer opportunity or a deeper opportunity to master skills. And at the high school level, we're really focusing on credit recovery to ensure our students are going to be on track for high school graduation. And across all grade levels, our special education students have extended learning opportunities to uphold their individualized education plans and to make sure that we are meeting their needs. So we try to host our opportunities and events centrally located. So when we look at our pre-K program, we hosted this year at Junction K8 as well as Jackson Avenue Elementary. And then our extended school year program for our special education preschool students was housed at Croce. And for our elementary summer school, again, we utilized Junction K8 campus as well as Jackson Avenue. And our middle and high school students were occupying Livermore High's campus for the summer. Some of our highlights, we're very excited because, as Dr. Dunlop said, math continues to be an area of focus. And so really looking at the summer school program and not only what we're offering for students, but what are we offering for our teachers. So to continue on with our math focus on professional development with multiple methods, we use a lot of the strategies from Marilyn Burns to offer professional development to our teachers, to really expand on the multiple methods and the conceptual understanding that our students need to go back and to reinforce some of the skills that they may not have mastered throughout the school year. So we're very excited because the feedback from teachers with this new professional development opportunity for summer was that it was highly enjoyed and that they will be taking the strategies and utilizing them throughout the year in their classrooms. And when we administered a pre and a post assessment, we were very excited to see the growth with our students in just the matter of that short month, that really the deep conversations around the conceptual understanding of math helped us see gains. So when we looked at student data, 93% of our students showed growth from their pre to their post assessment. And when we look at the students, 38% of our students scored at least 90% or higher on their final assessment. So we were very much pleased with that targeted professional development and the growth we were able to see just within that short time over the summer. And we're excited because we know the teachers will take those strategies back to their classroom. We continue to offer our English Language Development Academy for K-5 throughout the summer, really focusing on our English learners and great strategies such as SDI strategies or GLAD strategies to really target English language development and to make sure that our English learners are getting the instructional support needed to help master English language arts and math. And our ELD teachers also participated in the targeted math professional development to ensure that English learners, as well as students across the board, were able to engage in solid math instruction. Another highlight continues to be our migrant education programs. And so our migrant students, of course, participated during the day in summer school, but they were able to engage in extended learning opportunities after the summer school day. So looking at different resources such as great books to really have students spend time articulating their thinking and to have conversations to deepen and enrich in the learning. So for our migrant education program, again, we're serving early learners, our pre-K students, and that service continues all the way up through 12th grade. Looking at the math and English language arts skills needed to be successful. And then the students, the high school and secondary students, were able to continue their event or their learning by going to our UC Berkeley campus on a field trip to really get the college experience. And then also our high school students were able to participate in an individualized credit recovery program. And as Cindy mentioned, Phil and Drew, who we've worked with for several years on our math, they are continuing to include us in an opportunity to have our students participate in the Mathematics Achievement Academy. And it's a partnership with Phil and Drew's organization, the Center of Mathematics Education and Research, as well as that organization in Cal State University East Bay partnering to offer a program for summer. And we were able to engage students in a learning opportunity to help front load the skills that they would need for the upcoming school year. So this is a little bit of a different focus. Our summer school program is more looking at intervention and remediation, but for our Math Achievement Academy, we're looking at the students that need that front loading, or maybe our average students who need the front loading to make sure that they're successful in the upcoming grade level. So we looked at exiting 5th graders, and we had a full class participating in Math 6 skills. We had our exiting 6th graders, which were participating in the Math 7, our exiting 8th graders, who were participating in Algebra 1, and that included some 7th graders as well, and then looking at the students who would be going into geometry. This opportunity is funded through Chevron, and we definitely appreciate our partnerships and sponsors with Chevron. We work with them in many arenas, and we definitely appreciate that connection. And this is another program where teachers have received specific training and are carefully selected to offer this opportunity to our students. And again, we have online credit recovery programs over the summer. We've used class.com over the years, and this year we're going to be transitioning to a new program, and so we're currently in the process of reviewing and looking at different options for online credit recovery and making sure that we're really supporting our secondary students in those opportunities in the areas of English, history, and mathematics. We want to make sure, though, we have a certificated teacher present to really extend those learning opportunities and support as needed to make sure that our students are able to progress throughout the summer. One thing that's nice, if you look at the report, our numbers of attendees for high school online credit recovery have significantly decreased over the years, and that really is attributed to the high schools looking at solid first instruction and then how to best offer those opportunities throughout the school year so that we're not waiting to the summer to help students or have students have that opportunity to recover as far as their credits. When we look at our summer school program, we want to continue to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students and that we use it as an opportunity to supplement regular school year instruction. Again, our primary focus is solid first instruction throughout the school year and really making sure that throughout the school year we're being proactive and we're offering those interventions or those enrichment opportunities to take learning further throughout the school year so that we're not reliant on our summer school program or that short month in the summer. We also want our staff at both of our high schools and our alternative high schools to ensure that we're really looking at those prime years, 9th through 12th grade, to make sure that our students are acquiring the credits needed to move forward. And again, that summer school is not what we're relying on to catch students up, that we're being proactive throughout this school year. So we were very active this summer, and we will continue to support learning throughout the school year. And that concludes our report for our Summer School 2014 program.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, discussion?
I have a few questions. One, how many total students did we have in the summer school this year?
So we had 1,282 students ranging from pre-K through 12th grade.
Okay, so 1,000 students. Very good. And then I was very interested about your note with specialized training for teachers. How many teachers did we have who were there doing specialized training?
So for our K-8 classrooms, we had, I don't know the exact number, but I'm guessing around 30 plus teachers that were trained for the K-8 math instruction. Some of it was a little bit of a refresher for many of our teachers because there were a lot of similarities between the Phil and Drew training. But through a new lens with Marilyn Burns' strategies and a different trainer, it reinforced and helped solidify some of the needs that we need to deepen, as our assistant superintendent mentioned.
Yeah, I found that particularly interesting since we usually think of summer school as for the students, but you're making it dual purpose, obviously, here.
We are opportunists. We want to make sure that we're taking all learners and extending that opportunity, whether it be students or adults.
When you list what we're trying to do with the students, it seems a lot of it's remedial. But some students, for whatever reason, get off to a slow start in math or English or whatever, and in high school they wanted to, get into a more advanced set of classes. Do we allow or encourage students to come in and actually they move ahead and take the geometry or trigonometry or whatever they need to be on a course that would allow them to have a good chance for college?
We do work with the site administration to take the teachers' feedback to make sure we're supporting the needs. Over the years, the summer school program has been reduced as far as our offerings, so there's not as many enrichment courses. But if that is a need or if a student would benefit and there is space, we definitely invite them to do so.
Good. Thank you.
My daughter was part of the Mathematics Achievement Academy at Livermore, going into the 7th grade. Other than the fact that she's quoted that I destroyed her summer by making her take that class, she now has seen the light of day by the math is a lot easier for her now. She says, well, there's no challenge. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. So it really did make an impact. 3 hours a day for 5 weeks that's a lot of math. And I had to see something coming out of it because I had to get up at 7 o'clock to take her over there. So there was a buy-in for both of us, but it seemed to go very well, and it really, according to her, all the kids really did get something out of the class. I also took the opportunity to tour the whole summer school at Livermore High at that time. I noted how dependent they were on computerized learning and how various teachers use different aspects of some of the programs, and I also understood that some of the programs were going away because of no updatability, things like that. So I was a little concerned about that how often are we having to purchase a program or another program because they're updating or not updating a program anymore. They're ending that their line of software. I'm always concerned about that because we have to keep professional development up in distant software. But for the most part, looking at all the students, they were, for the most part, attentive to class. I'm sorry, I was looking for a different word. They were attentive and learning, and boy, the computer classes really keep the noise down, because then I went into the 6th grade math class and I went, oh, what a difference. They had no computer. So the class discipline was definitely different in a computer environment. So I thought it was great. I think it was a good deal for everybody. I think everybody did learn, and like you said, we had improvement. And could you recognize the principals for the summer school?
I can, and I would like to first recognize our summer school coordinator, Tammy Rankin, who's in the audience. And Tammy, you want to come forward and talk about our principals, who was where? And while she's coming forward to address the class.com, we've had that program for several years, and we're excited about a new evolution for that online support for our students. And then we're also eagerly awaiting the MAW Academy pre and post test data. While it's designed to meet a different need with the front loading of skills and the data, the pre and post test might look different than the remediation. We're very much excited to get that data to make sure that we're able to communicate with our teachers to support our learners.
So Sherry Johnston was at Jackson, and Dana Taylor was at the Junction site, and Eric Taylor took over the high school site.
And then we had Mary DeLeon as our vice principal for our high school, middle and high school program.
Great.
It went well. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. A couple of times, both in the professional development report and in this report, you've mentioned what seemed to me to be, I don't want to say foreign terms, but technical terms, the Lucy Calkins training, for example, and Marilyn Burns. Now, I know Marilyn Burns, but I don't think she's the same Marilyn Burns. Perhaps you could find some 3-page something that you could transmit to us so that we could know when we visit a Lucy Calkins classroom what we should see.
We'll happily do so. It becomes our world, so we apologize for the education needs.
Anybody else? All right, let's go on to discussion action items. 2013-14 unaudited actual financial reports. Superintendent Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is the time when Mrs. Susan Kinder, our Chief Business Official, will keep you apprised of the unaudited actual financial reports, and this is for your approval.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers. We're very happy to bring for you tonight for approval the unaudited actuals for 2013-14. So we have completed closing the books, and we've put everything into the standardized account code structure software. And now we are ready to, once you hopefully approve tonight, we will be able to submit it to the County Office of Education for their review, and for our district auditors for their review to include into the annual audit. So this page here is page 1 of Form 01, which is our general fund. And I just want to point out that the left area is our 2013-14 unaudited actuals, and then the right area is the 2014-15 45-day revised budget, now as we presented at the last board meeting. So our revenues totaled $108,056,141, and as you can see, oh my goodness, I don't know what happened to all of my categories, but on your handout, that's weird. The major portion, that big blue bar, is the local control funding formula, and that makes up actually 74% of all of our revenue. 2% of that is the supplemental funding that comes, but it's all mixed in with LCFF. And LCFF, which is the local control funding formula, is made up of property taxes, state aid, and then the education protection account. And then the other areas there, I'll just say that the green is the federal revenue. It's about 5% of our revenue. State is 6%. That's the purple area. The local is the teal color there. That's 12%. And then 3% is our interfund transfers. As you'll recall, we used some one-time funds from our sale of property. In expenses, and this is not good. The blue, red, green, and purple area are all of our salaries. So the blue is our certificated salaries, the red is our classified salaries, the green is management, and the purple is employee benefits. And that makes up a total of 81% of all of our expenditures. Then we have books and supplies that make up 5%, and service and other operating expenses, which is 12%. And I often get asked what services and operating expenses cover. And that would be such things as our contracts with our special ed non-public schools, our transportation for our special ed students, and our utilities. Those would be the big things in there. And then other outgo is 2%. So when we look at page 2 of Fund 01, what we like to look at is our unrestricted ending fund balance. That is the money that we have left. And that came in at $3,948,802. And if you looked back at the adopted budget that we brought to you, we projected that that would be $3,487,961. That's a difference of $460,841. And in that difference, we have carryover of $337,807, leaving us with an increase of $123,034. That is extremely close. That's like 1/10 of 1% of our budget. So we were very happy to see that that came in at a positive. So the next steps will be we will bring a budget update in October, and we'll include the ending balance of 13-14, which will be our new beginning balance for 14-15. We'll include the carryover that I just mentioned. We'll have our actual hires now that we've gotten the school year started. We'll have our day 14 enrollment, which is next Friday, I think is day 14. So that is when we feel that our enrollment is completely stable. And hopefully we'll bring some competitive compensation adjustments, because as LEA mentioned, they did ratify a contract. And then Cindy and I will have the pleasure of beginning to work on the local accountability plan for 14-15 with joy. And so the superintendent's recommendation is to approve the district's 2013-14 unaudited financial reports. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions from the audience? Questions, comments from the board? Right.
I want to thank Mrs. Kinder for separating the supplemental money that we get for the LCFF scheme, because I think it's important for us and for the public to know actually how much money, whether you think it's a lot or a little, that we do have that is supposed to be, well, it comes to us because of the number of targeted population students we have in the district, which is the students in poverty, the students who are learning English, foster students, and is there one more that they added at the end? I can't remember. But we get the money because we have those students, and while we have authority and discretion on how we spend the money, it is supposed to be directed toward improving their achievement. It's not restricted specifically to them, and improving all achievement is also part of the task. And I just want to thank you for separating that out. And we look forward to the LCAP as we get to it next year.
I'll just mention, so the two reports that were previous, the professional development and the summer school, were both partially funded with that supplemental money.
Well, and I did note that I was reading, as I was reading the professional development report, there were several places that pointed out that this workshop was provided through LCAP funds, and some of them were targeted toward students in particular groups, and some of them were just targeted toward teachers and included resources for the teachers to do better with targeted groups. Thank you.
Dr. Dunlop.
I always have a few questions. And one doesn't have anything to do with the budget per se, but where do we stand on the pay down of the borrowed money that the state paid us, and they were, giving us money back, and it's supposed to go on for another couple of years, but I was wondering if they're ahead of schedule on the pay down of the money that Prop 30 was supposed to bring back to us.
So I think you're talking about the deferrals that,
Yes,
that they
the
kept
deferrals.
doing to us. Well, they still have, I want to say 6% still outstanding. And then, so we're getting paid that in July. So it's like the next fiscal year. And supposedly, if state revenues come in higher this year than they originally projected, which the Legislative Analyst Office does project that they'll come in higher than what the governor projected, then they will, I guess, come up with a way of paying that off this fiscal year, which we're hope they do. We'll probably won't know until January, then when they do the January budget.
Okay, but they are ahead of schedule on that pay down.
Well, they still have the other piece of the wall of debt, is what they call it, is the mandated cost portion. And the mandated cost portion, they still have quite a ways to go. I guess they're ahead of schedule, perhaps, but they're supposed to pay it down by 17-18. So they owe us about $12 million. So we look forward to seeing that when they pay it.
So they're actually very behind schedule, because the $12 million in mandated expenses have accrued over a period of many, many years, but now at least there's some movement.
Okay. Well, we'll skip that and hope it all returns and gets us back on firm budget foundation, because that turned out to be one of the big problems we had for a couple of years, was the lack of flexibility, because we were always basically spent down to $0 in the bank. The next question is enrollment for this year. I mean, we're doing our budget based on a planned enrollment. Does it look like the enrollment is going to be about right, or a little bit ahead, or what's the situation with enrollment?
Well, from what I've gathered, the information I've gathered so far from Scott and Chris is that the enrollment will come in as we had projected, which is fairly flat.
Okay.
Stable.
So right now, that's the expectation, is basically flat. So.
Yeah. So at least it's not going down. So that's good.
Okay. And let's see. Then let's see. I do want to comment that it's always nice when our budget actually comes in slightly ahead of what we might have expected. So again, an excellent job. We always look forward to hearing your budget reports, and it's nicer in the last couple of last year and going into this year, they're actually positive, and we're see some relief in sight finally in terms of that. But I think people should realize that even though it's been, 7 years, our budgets are lower than they were 7 years ago still. Mm-hmm. And we've had inflation, we've had other problems, but basically we have not regained what we've lost over that period. So the next few years we're hoping to see a change in that, where we actually have a substantial improvement in the budget situation.
And this budget also includes the successful passage of the parcel tax measure, which is still the local input, which is one of the only things we've been able to count on in Livermore, while the rest of the economy has tanked in certain ways. That's been a stable funding source that has kept some really vital programs and services. And then going forward, we will be looking at the board's core values and budget priorities to help us determine at what increments do we restore, revamp, redesign, and continue in the competitive compensation track.
Thank you.
I just have one question that Dr. Dunlop kind of pointed out, but it's on the deferrals. When they're paying us back those deferrals, are they adjusting that for lost value of that money that was like in 2009, or we're just getting straight off the top?
No, we don't even get interest on that.
We don't even get interest on it, so
No, it's basically they just tell you, oh, you know, the paycheck that you were supposed to get this month, you'll get it next year. No interest. You'll just get it then.
no, okay, so we're getting what, 60, 80 cents on the dollar then. But I guess that's better than a poke in the eye. Alrighty. And this is a vote, and the roll call vote. Anybody want to make a motion?
I think I'd make a motion that we approve, what's the right word? Approve the unaudited actual financial reports for 13-14.
And I'll second that.
And Dr. Dunlop, would you like to do the roll call vote?
Mrs. White?
Aye.
Rogie?
Aye.
And myself, aye.
A lot shorter when there's only 3 of us. And that passes unanimously. And the next one is a resolution, reduction and elimination of specially funded classified services.
So thank you, Mr. President. I will ask Mr. Chris Van Schack, our Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services, to present to you some brief background information regarding the need for this particular resolution for your approval and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Bowers. I have a very brief presentation this evening, so brief, in fact, that we don't need a PowerPoint to accompany it. In fact, I'm merely asking that you pass Resolution 004-1415, which allows us to issue a layoff notice to a bilingual aide teacher or aide at Granada High School. This is a position that was funded last year, 25 hours a week, and the funding source has been eliminated. So that, unfortunately, provides us with the need to issue that person a layoff notice, and so I'm asking the board to give permission for that this evening.
I move approval of Resolution 4-14-15.
I'll second that.
All right, Dr. Dunlop, would you call the roll?
Mrs. White?
Aye.
Mr. Rogie?
Aye.
And myself, aye.
And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Now on to consent items. We are, item A is no longer on the consent. I'll make a motion to approve items B through I.
And I'll second it.
Anybody have any other discussion items they want to break out? Or all righty. So we have a motion and a second, and Dr. Dunlop.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
Mr. Rogie?
Aye.
And myself, aye.
And that consent calendar B through I has been passed unanimously. Consent items resolutions. Who's handling that? Superintendent Bowers, give it to you.
Tell us about the game.
Certainly. So the first resolution is one that we ask for standard every year, and Mrs. Kinder can probably explain the need for that, and then we'll get to the second.
So this is something that goes along with the unaudited actuals. It's the GAN limit appropriation, and it's based on Education Code 42132, which says the board shall adopt a resolution by September 15th of each year to identify the estimated appropriations limit for the district for the current fiscal year and the actual appropriations limit of the district during the preceding year. And this is just kind of an exercise that we do every year.
And then for the second item, we do have the primary portion of our contract for transportation for special education is still with the Durham buses, but there's a portion of that we are allowed for alternative methods, and this is a recommendation that we continue with, at least for two of our area's schools, with a new service. And so Mrs. Alba is here, as well as Mrs. Freitas. They're both here to give any background information on that. Did you have any more to add?
Any questions from the board on what these are?
So we just want to have an alternative vendor?
It's the opportunity to have an alternative vendor, and also as we're looking forward, the contract for our current service is going to be up for go out to bid, and so it gives us the opportunity to look at another vendor.
Good idea.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, don't.
I'm just going to make a motion.
Go ahead and make a motion. Go ahead.
So I'll move that we approve Resolution 005-1415 and 006-1415.
Want a second, or I'll second?
Oh, second, I'm sorry, I would,
Okay, we have a second. Moved and seconded. Dr. Dunlap, would you call, please?
Mrs. White,
aye.
Mr. Rogie,
Aye.
and myself, aye.
See, that goes quick. Next, board member reports. We'll go from right to left. Mrs. White.
Thank you. I don't know how many of you read the newspaper thoroughly on whatever it was, Sunday, I think. But there was a piece that was headlined "Back in Class After Win on the World Stage." And there's a youth here, and so I thought I'd read it. And it was James Mullen, who is a senior at Cupertino High School. And he was the first American to win the International Geography Olympiad, which had been held in Poland. And I tell you about it to point out his success, but also to point out the context and the concepts that he was challenged with. He had entered on a lark, something he read in the high school blurb, and he found himself for one of the 4 slots on the U.S. team. And he was delighted and went to Krakow to do the international contests. And he was also, he said, it says here that he was shining as example because he was able to answer the conceptual emphasis of the international competition. Apparently, the competition to gain a spot on the American team was memorization of geography concepts, like tell me about the rivers in Africa. But the international concepts were critical thinking skills, and this is where he was shining. There were 143 other contestants from 36 countries, and he was the only one that finished in the top 10 in all 3 categories of events. The written section included a question about globalization. It was, why McDonald's restaurants spread in France and did not in Russia? Another question was uses of forests and why in some places they're being cut down and other places they're thriving. And in the observation and mapping section, the contestants were asked to map out a public place complex in Krakow and produce a plan for an abandoned sports complex. And, you know, I have heard that one of the questions for the middle school project Lead the Way includes designing a playground, which sounds like a middle school creativity kind of thing. So I think it's important that we recognize that internationally there are different kinds of questions than we are accustomed to asking, and our students need to become accustomed to answering more challenging questions than we have asked in the past. Thank you.
I spent too much time with Labor Day, and I can't remember anything from the week before.
I attended the leadership conference in San Ramon, and the speaker I thought was really, really quite well received, and it seemed that everybody was listening on the edge of their seat. Unfortunately, I had to leave at noon, so I didn't get to participate in any of the other activities. That was the only thing I have attended. When I was on my vacation, I did manage to visit a couple schools. Unfortunately, they were on the big island of Hawaii, boo-hoo.
Poor baby.
And but I was impressed with their schools, and they are state-run schools, so it's a little bit differently. But they cluster their schools together in elementary, middle school, and high schools, all within a couple block radius, which I thought was interesting. And in response to your statement, I find that interesting about the geography, because the advent of technology in our society is causing people to be geographically dumb, as I like to say it. I was at a hotel in Oregon, and I got up early one morning and I watched all the young people get out and program their GPSs, whereas I pulled out a map, and they wait for the little lady on their GPS to tell them where to go. And I think that's disheartening, because they're not looking at other avenues of exploration. They're just looking from point A to point B. And I think that's a detriment to our education and to our society. But with that said, I hope it improves. I hope technology improves part of our geography. So that's it all I have. Thank you.
When you brought up being in Hawaii, it reminds me of a postcard I received one time. It said board meeting, and I was thinking board meeting, but they were all on surfboards, so it's a little different concept. I would like to start out with just a big invitation and a reminder to piggyback on Mrs. Unger's talk about the upcoming Walk for Education, sponsored by the American Swim Academy and our Livermore Valley Education Foundation. Because we did get to hear from Jennifer, who's in charge. She attended our Parent Club Information Council meeting. And this is an annual event, and it is not only something that is fundraising, it's actually fundraising. Because we have every school participating, and including the district office. And this year, they are adding some very special components. This year, the Swim Academy is also partnering with the running clubs in our K-5 and K-8 schools and middle schools. And so there'll be some unique features. The students who have already clocked in miles in their running clubs will be the ones that get to carry the banners in front of everybody of their school team as they come up. There's also, in addition to the most participant ratio, the highest ratios of students participant that will be receiving rewards, they're going to be giving a spirit award, and they're encouraging, I think the face painting will come in handy. They're really encouraging the kids and the teachers and the families and everybody who participates, because we even have people with strollers and wheelchairs. Everyone is participating around the track. They will be wearing their school spirit memorabilia, and the district now we have shirts too, so we'll be doing our share. So those are some neat features. And then a lot of this is in anticipation. Next year, believe it or not, will be the 10th year anniversary of all of the running clubs when they first started at Rancho. And so this is kind of just a preliminary, just a precursor to what's coming next year, but they really have some great ideas to generate excitement. So we do need everyone's assistance in getting the word out. There will be t-shirts available. We have a lot of sponsors, many vendor booths, and it's really just a fun-filled day. So that's Saturday, September 27th. And I know Dr. Dunlop usually laps all of us, but those of us will be carrying our district banner. Hopefully our board will be leading the way, and then our students will follow. So that's very exciting. Also, as we've said earlier, school's well underway. Our enrollment is very solid. We do have a few schools who've taken a spike. We've added portables at both, and I think you saw some preview of that at the last meeting, but we've added some really 21st century lab and portables at both Junction K-8 and Mitchell K-8. So that's very exciting. A lot of new folks there. We had our large kickoff, which was very successful, and we also welcomed all staff back to school with celebration cakes, and this is courtesy of Campus Catering. So their first Wednesday afternoon for collaboration time and data teaming, when they look at all of their data and prepare for the year, is a time when they actually had a treat, and it was sponsored by our district, our board, and our senior cabinet. I just wanted to let everyone know during that recent seismic activity in Napa, and I think there's been some aftershocks throughout, we did take that very seriously, and Mr. Mike Nagel, who heads our emergency response teams, what we did is we normally have a regular series of practice drills for any kind of disaster or crisis that we could encounter. We've always included fire drills and earthquake and then lockdown and also shelter in place. But we did have an extra early earthquake drill just to make sure that our students and staff were prepared in the event of an emergency. And so far we've been fine. I also had the opportunity to attend the first annual Tri-Valley Health Fair, and Mr. Scott Bernoy and his staff took a very strong lead role in that. And we had probably at least 500 families and students participating in this event. It was held at the Robert Livermore, and even though it was Tri-Valley, we can definitely say that predominantly the families served were from our own community, not just because of convenience, but also because, as Trustee White said earlier, we have a very high need. We have students who live in poverty. We saw some of our migrant students, and sometimes they don't have access to the health services, the insurance, and all of these things that many people take for granted that their children will have. What was nice about this is it was before school began, and so students had their vaccinations, they had their hearing and their eyes checked. We had volunteers, Dr. Marcel and many of the doctors and dentists who we've recognized here at the board meeting, they volunteered their time. Our nurses were there. Children had full screenings for scoliosis, and they they just had an incredible experience, because even the students that weren't being visited, they were allowed to read about nutrition, or they were on a bicycle and making, from their own energy, they were able to generate enough energy to have a blender that created smoothies that were nutritious. So just an amazing group of people who all came together. It was quite an event. So because it was so successful, it's the first annual, and there'll be another one. I believe we will bring them back for a recognition at a future time. And then elementary back to school night is this Thursday evening, and so our parents and guardians have the opportunity. Usually there's a bell schedule, and they have to follow their child's classroom schedule, sit in the seats, and experience what it's like to hear all the exciting highlights for the upcoming year, answer their questions about curriculum and Common Core, and they'll hear directly from their child's teachers. And then next week we have middle and high school back to school nights on Tuesday and Wednesday respectively. And so if you are out and about, I encourage you to attend those evenings, because it's actually an incredible time for the parents to start off right and be early engaged and active in their students' education this year, because we know when students have their parents as partners, then they're going to get a better experience with us. So that concludes my presentation.
And with that, please join us at our next exciting meeting, when I think we'll have another board member show up also. And with that, we're done at 8:37. Thank you.